What up? It's Gamer 2929A. That's what I was called, right? In these, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm back with Stormgate. It's been 5 months to September. 5 months since Stormgate. I did a video about it because they haven't really changed much since then. And I also said in the last time I did a video about it that I wouldn't talk about Stormgate until 2025, and 2025 is here. And they've done a big update, such a massive update that I've seen so many comments everywhere saying it's the best update by far. Oh wow, such a massive improvement. So I thought, okay, let's check the update out. Let's see what's going on. Is there a massive improvement? Where are the improvements? And I will start by saying that yes, this is, I think, the first update, because I played the 0.2 one. I wasn't impressed. I'll get to that later. But the 0.3 one, the stuff has changed, and they did something. The big thing I think with the 0.3 update is that they've actually added in graphics for this version of the game. Maybe a bit harsh, but the game actually looks good. It looks good now. Sure, yeah, it looks okay. Let's say that the lighting engine was changed in the 0.1 update to virtually no effect. I think now that lighting engine, if they've changed it again, I don't know. If they've just added in textures and graphics that have allowed this lighting engine to show off what it's worth, I think that's probably more it. Either way, there are things that it does look visibly different. The ground looks more textured, which I love. The kind of like little grassy elements in some of these areas look like they have actual like depth, which is brilliant. There's not like random popping in and out of like buildings when they get destroyed. You know, you actually see like a nice explosion happen now when something big gets destroyed, rather than just like, you know, a pre-rendered. It's like oh, there's like a couple of things and it blows up properly before disappearing, and I like that. That's nice. That's good. There's like a lot more effects as well. That's for sure. Like a lot more effects. Maybe too many effects, because it's a bit cluttered right now. Especially with something as simple as the resources, right? Like, you'll see how pretty the like chunky kind of like irony stuff, I don't know, it's luminite, is that what it's called? When you're like drilling it with like your guys. That stuff looks good. I like the little glow it has, like the internal glow. And then you have like the therium, I think it's called, and it's just like these balls on the ground still with like a green glow across like a massive area. It looks ugly as hell, and they've made it worse because it's glowing bright green, so it takes all of the attention away from the battlefield. It's just, I don't know why they've decided to do this. Please, for the love of God, let me build like a factory on top of it so it doesn't look as ugly. Because right now, I think I play the Vanguard a lot because I haven't played the Infernal or the Angelic people, because the game, I feel, is not in a state where the even human faction is playable. So I've been playing the Vanguard and the same few levels to like try and compare and see how the game is holding up across patches. And it's really awkward to see the really big green stuff. I really don't like it. I really wish they added in some sort of factory. That's the big thing from 0.3. They added in nice, beautiful art. And I think the sound's different as well. I'm not entirely sure about that. I think I read somewhere that like their sound is different. I can't really tell, but sound is one of those things where like you know if it's wrong. You know if like something's wrong with the sound because you'll hear it. But when it's right, it's like an unsung hero. So like, it's probably been fixed. I know it was really loud, so that's probably what they've done. They've probably gone through and like edited the levels of all of like the stupid Marines and stopped them like saying their lines 50 million times in a second. I appreciate that. There's actually some silence so I can think about what's going on. What about the rest of the game? Well, not much else has changed. Like gameplay-wise. I'm talking like how the game plays minute to minute. But there still wasn't really the issue, because the game is really hard to fuck up an RTS, I think. It plays fairly well. I was having fun when I was playing it, just like I was having fun the last few times. It's just everything around the game that's still not very good, and it's not finished, and it's not balanced, and everything still seems a bit... But Anyway, the other big thing they added, outside of like any changes to how the game functions at all, is hotkeys, which is something that I was saying and a lot of people were saying back when the game first came out. Where are the hotkeys? They're here now, and that's good. I remember taking a look. There are a lot of hotkeys, and they all had secondary binding buttons, and that's great. And I think that's a really needed addition into the game. I'm glad they took the time to add hotkeys in. I don't know why they weren't in the game to start with. Was it really that hard? I have to assume it was like a massive challenge, and that's why it's taken them so long. But it still seems a bit weird to me. Either way, they're in the game now. You can change hotkeys for like adding in like newly trained units into different like training groups. You can rebind hotkeys for like how fast you build and stuff. You can do it for like each individual faction, and then also each individual yeah, you could do it for each individual faction and each individual like co-op hero, and I think that's really good and fair play. I'm starting off with the good stuff, if you can tell, because I still have problems with the game, and I want to just let out how I like the fact they're actually listening to the community when they want stuff added in. And I will add another final thing on. They did like this 10-minute video about, oh, everything in Stormgate and the big 3.0 development update. Here's everything Stormgate, and also we're doing stuff in the future. They talked about how they're changing the campaign. They've like rewritten scripts, re-recorded dialogue. They've rehauled levels, and they're adding in new levels and all this crazy stuff, which is why the campaign is taking longer to make than easy fixes like balance and hotkeys and graphical edits. And that level of transparency is nice. I like to see it. But like conversely, at the same time, it's like I don't think the campaign was very good. I think that's clear for everyone who's played it. It's just very lackluster. The 3 chapters in Chapter 0 are essentially poorly done tutorials on how to play the game in its basic form, which it serves its purpose very well, but narratively speaking, it doesn't hook you in on the meta story or the characters in any way at all. And that's mainly down to just how poor the writing is. So I can understand rewriting scripts, but the amount they were saying, to me, it will need to be a massive rewrite for how long and how much they're hyping this up. Which may be unfair, but quite frankly, I paid money for this, and they have not met my expectations in the nearly, 7 months since the game launched into early access as a free-to-play game, which... And here comes my second complaint. The microtransactions, they're still in the game. Like, they're just straight up. I was like, in the 0.1 update, they had this whole thing, I'm not sure if any of you remember or even care, where they added in, at launch, a character that was like £8.50 or something like that. I'm not sure how much that is in dollars, but £8.50, ridiculous amount of money for a single co-op character of a brand new IP in any world. Quite frankly, I would pay £8.50 for a character in like Star Wars that I love, because I'm not an insane person, and also I don't have that amount of money to spare for that kind of stuff. But that's not the point. I think it's just a ridiculous amount of money for anything. Like Hollow Knight, one of my favourite games of all time, is £12, and you're telling me your shitty character that adds in like a couple of new abilities and a few reskins in a mode that is tangential to the one that I actually enjoy is worth almost the entire price of the game? No way! No way at all, anyway. And their big 2.0 update, which I looked at, I didn't play much of it because fuck all happened in it. Their big, spotlight thing that they were pushing forward was a new hero, Riker. And you're like, oh yes, Riker, the famous character, like, what? No, I have no idea who he is. Sure, he's voiced by Matt Mercer, but Matt Mercer will do anything. He will go anywhere. He will voice anyone. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not paying $8.50 to hear, like, Matt Mercer say 5 voice lines over the course of a 1-hour game. Well, actually, no, you say that. Maybe. But still not the point. It's way too much money for these individual characters that don't come with any attached story or any content outside of just, it's what, like 20 arbitrary levels in this co-op mode? I don't think they're involved in any like multiplayer versus mode. I think it's just this co-op mode. On top of that, you're still having their pets. They're like silly little things, which I finally figured out how to equip onto my character in this thing. And they're like £4.50. So in whatever like weird macroeconomical way that they're splitting this up, they consider just a purely cosmetic thing to be worth half the price of something that they're spending a lot of effort into making and hiring voice actors to voice lines for. So please connect the dots for me, Frost Giant. I don't understand. And this is on top of the ridiculous price I already paid to support this game in the first place. So please make it make sense. And they're continuing with this ridiculous microtransaction system that are people buying this stuff? If you are, you're being scammed straight out of the gate. I mean, like, but then you kind of deserve to if you're stupid enough to get it. It just doesn't make any sense. And out of the, I think it's, what is it, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 update, 2 of them have included paid DLC microtransactional content. Just straight up. Because the very first update had wars, and the second update had some stupid idiot angel that I can't remember the name of that was free, which would have been paid content if people hadn't complained. And then 0.2 had Riker. Quick note for me in the future here, that is me talking about launch, 0.1, 0.2, and then 0.3, not just the updates, because Wars was released at launch, so, you know, 0.1 would have released the angelic person. My point is still correct, but I'm just correcting it so that no idiot in the comments is going to be like, well, actually, Wars wasn't released in the 0.1 update. I know it's with the launch update. Wars was on launch. The Celestial person would have been a paid content in 0.1, but was turned to free because of the outrage over Wars in the launch update. Then 0.2 was Riker. So my point still counts. Shut up. And that's crazy. That over half of the updates have had their biggest feature be just microtransaction DLC people. That's crazy. That's just so stupid. I'm not going to continue on about that because it's just clear where their priorities lie. It's not in creating the best RTS experience, at least not from the way they're presenting it. I was playing it and it is a fun RTS experience still, and it looks like a triple A kind of faux triple A experience in that way, where it's creating this kind of flashy, you know, graphically nice looking experience, but it also is attached to this incredibly odd system of microtransactions. And I still don't know where, with this update, where is the focus for Stormgate? What is Stormgate meant to do still? Because on the one hand, you have hotkeys being added in, which I assume will really help high-level play and esports people who want to play this game professionally for whatever reason, and you know, observers who want to like watch and spectate it. So in that way, I'm seeing, oh, this update is meant to help boost Stormgate and Frost Giant's profile, so that more people are playing, more people are watching, so that they can get more people slowly trickling in that money through the microtransactions, which it doesn't sit well with me, quite frankly, but it makes sense as, like, you know, a business kind of thing. But then on the other side, you know, a lot of these high-level players aren't going to want to have all of these massive flashy effects on all the time, because they're going to be like using macros and doing all sorts of like weird shit where they jump around the map at 50 miles a second and have like crazy amounts of like DPS. So like they're not going to want to be fucking around with all of this crap, and they've put a lot of effort into it. So like there's definitely a desire to pander to like a casual base. I don't know what casual RTS strategy gamers there are, really. I guess me, because I'm not really into all the crazy like esports stuff. I don't particularly, I'm not interested in any of that. I like just playing these games casually without having to worry about the latest meta. So I guess with that, but like my version of casual isn't the casual they want, because I'm not playing against other people, I'm not getting involved in the ecosystem, I'm not buying these pets to show off, because that just doesn't interest me. But then, and then they're just dangling the carrot of the campaign in front of everybody in the hopes of keep people on and invested. I'm just confused, and it doesn't help that they've done this charity thing. I think it's a great endeavor to do. I'm always for, especially companies, giving money away to charity, because quite frankly they have too much of it and they need to get rid of it. It is a bit weird that they've chosen to do this during their early access period. I guess they have some sort of charitable arm, the insidious part of my brain which holds no care for companies says that they're only doing this charity event because it brings in streamers who want to show off their philanthropic sides whilst also promoting Stormgate and having all of these people watch a competitive Stormgate game, so they can be like, oh yes, sure, I like watching Stormgate. I don't think that's the case. I'm hoping they're just good people who are trying to help a charity in need. Give them the £2,000 or dollars or whatever it was that they were going to match to donate to the children's hospital. Sure. It's just the problem with Stormgate still, 5 months later, 2 major updates through, is that everything except the game is a shit show. The actual moment-to-moment gameplay is solid. Everything else around it is just fucked. And maybe that's me just still being a bit bitter about the fact that it didn't meet my bare minimum expectations on early access launch. And sure, maybe I can get a bit petty about this kind of stuff. At the same time, it didn't even get anywhere near my lowest expectations for this. The 0.3 update right now is what I expected Stormgate to be at its early access launch, because that's kind of what they said it was going to be. They said it was going to mostly be just polishing. There would be a year of early access development for polish, feedback, balancing. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll hop in on day one, and then I'll let them muck around with all of the people who really, really get into RTS games like this so much, and just, like that. Get really into the deep, mechanical things, this unit is 1 frame too slow, or this unit shoots at a rate that isn't fast enough for what damage it should be doing, stuff like that. Let them sort all of that out, and I'll come back in a year and I'll be able to enjoy this kind of episodic story that they're releasing, which to me was a really interesting way to tell a story, especially as something like an RTS. I was really looking forward to that, and it's kind of fucked because the first chapter I haven't played because the tutorial chapter was so boring. So it's just everything around it just doesn't work, and something is still setting me off, despite the fact this is, I would say, a net neutral update. There are bad things with the microtransactions still being heavily pushed with a ridiculous price point, and there are good things like them listening to the feedback with the hotkeys and them adding in, actual graphical elements that make the game look good. I think for me personally, I'm not sure if this will be represented by other people who play Stormgate or who are interested in RTS games, but for me personally, I feel that Frost Giant are at the very least listening to what people want. Maybe not specifically people like me, but what people who are playing the game right now want. Is that good for the overall future health of the game? I don't know. I'm not an analyst who can look into the future. My gut says that's not what RTS gamers are, and this kind of casual audience that just want to hop in for a quick match doesn't exist. I don't think people are going to want to play a 20-minute, 25-minute game of intense action strategy if they're just looking for something to cool down, unless they're uber nerds, in which case they'll probably play something they could play alone, because they're uber nerds. As far as it goes to people playing the game, there are more people playing it. I looked up SteamDB. It was tracking at like its height at about like just about 90 people before the 0.3 update, and after like the spike of people come to check it out, it looks like the new kind of like trend it may be is about 140. So there is a significant increase at max players playing it, kind of like at the highest peak within a 24-hour period, which is a good sign for the game. It does come with the caveat that is down massively from like the thousands of people that were playing it when it first came out. Even, you know, back when it was in its Kickstarter period, where there was about 1,000 people playing it over a couple of days. My worry is that bad launch has ruined a lot of the goodwill around this game. That maybe won back through that kind of like No Man's Sky redemption, which maybe this game deserves, maybe this game doesn't. It's another case of wait and see. 0.3 update, still early in development. I don't think they're going to hit anywhere near their 1 year target to leave early access. No way in hell. No way they're going to do that. I don't believe it in any case that they're going to hit that 1 year release into early access thing. Maybe they will, and they'll push it out with like the campaign overhaul, and that would be like that. Oh, this is our big 1.0 release. We're overhauling the campaign to this brand new, rewritten, revoiced thing, and people are going to come back and be like, oh yeah, this is much better than I remember it is. Maybe I'll stick around, kind of thing. We'll see how that goes. They were about a month late on this one. I remember like they removed their roadmap because they couldn't hit the targets from it. Again, another thing. I'm glad they did that, because stuff like this needs to work organically, and I think the problem with Stormgate in the first place was it was pushed out too quickly. I would rather they take their time and be late so I can complain about them being late, rather than pushing it out and me complaining about how the game sucks. Because I'll complain either way, but I would rather complain about them actually making a good game and not having it sooner than not having a good game at all. Just as far as me and Stormgate go, we might be done. I think it will now be, if I ever do a video about Stormgate again, which is very unlikely, it will only be for the campaign. When the campaign comes out in whatever form they've got it in now, in whatever kind of rewritten state it is in, that will be when I come back to Stormgate to take a look at what they've done, because as it stands, these kind of like incremental, here's the graphics update, here's the hotkey update, here's the lighting update, which didn't change anything. I'm not interested in that. I want to know these characters, I want to know their stories, I want to know what they're doing. That's the stuff I'm interested in, and that's the stuff they're not adding until they do whatever campaign revamp they've done, or they're working on right now. So that's me, that's Stormgate 0.3 update thing, I guess. Civ 7 is going to have an update that does stuff at some point. They're going to fix the UI. I don't know. This is the second like strategy game that I've bought into really early on that just sucked at launch and really disappointed me. It's just a trend, I think. Maybe don't buy the games I recommend or play at all in any way. Who knows? Okay, I'm gonna go and do something fun for a change, rather than think about the games that aren't fun. Until then, I guess subscribe and like and comment is what the YouTubers say, and ring the bell so you're aware of all of the future upload. What the hell am I doing?